Okay. On problem number 1.
On which one?
The white printed review. Problem number 1. They said, how much does Dan charge per hour for walking dogs? If they're talking about how much per hour, they're talking about that unit rate. The unit rate would be K equals Y over X in a proportion relationship, which would be 5 over 1, $5 per hour. I know, but I'm going to tell you, if you do Y over X, it will always be a unit rate that way. Okay? Number 2, what's the missing number? This is 5, 10, 15. This is...
I figured it out.
The correct answer for number 2 is B. Number 3. The correct answer is C. And if you're looking at the table, are you two done? Because I don't want to talk over you the whole class. If you're looking at the table, it says dollars equals 5 times hours, dollars equals 5 plus hours, hours equals 5 times dollars. Well, if I started with hours equals 5 times dollars, here's my dollars, and it says I'd have to multiply it by 5 to get to my hours. Obviously, that's not true. This one says dollars equals 5 plus hours. So if I add 1 and 5 together, that should give me 6. Obviously, the correct answer was C. Questions on 1 through 3. Number 4, which table shows a car moving at a constant speed? And the correct answer is B. This shows that the car is traveling in the first place. It shows 50 miles per hour in all of them. How fast would it be going by the time it got to number 2 in A?
75.
This would be going 75 miles per hour, so it's definitely not constant. How fast is it going in C?
250.
We're not talking about a car now, are we? Not likely, and definitely not by the time you get to number 3. But if you figure out all of B, they all come out to exactly the same 50 miles per hour. Number 5. First off, should be easy to identify a negative slope. When you're looking at a graph, we read from left to right. And so both line K and line M force me in an upwards direction, which is positive. We read from left to right. J is going to force me in a downward direction, which is negative. So J is the one with a negative slope. When it says find the slope of line M, the first thing I'm going to do is eliminate which one? I'm going to eliminate the negative 2. It can't be a negative slope. I'm going to identify a point that I can use that's clearly identifiable on the grid. That has the ordered pair 2, 1. And because it goes through the origin, one of my ordered pairs would be this, or I can use K equals Y over X, which is the same as 1 over 2, which is why B is the correct answer for number 6. Questions on 5 or 6? Number 7, every 3 hours a machine produces 60 baskets. What's the unit rate? 60 baskets divided by 3 hours. And in order to be a unit rate, the denominator would have to be a 1. So we take 3 into 60, and we get 20 per hour, which is B. Number 8. I was kind of surprised at how many people asked questions about this yesterday. What does it mean to be rational?
It's not repeating or eliminating.
Nope. It can be put into a fraction or a decimal. To be a rational number, it includes all whole numbers. It includes all integers. It includes anything that's a fraction by definition. It includes decimals, both that terminate as well as repeat. Okay. What it doesn't include are things like pi, because pi doesn't repeat, it doesn't end, it goes on and on forever without doing either one of those things. Pi is irrational. That eliminated this. Anything that I can't find the square root of, in other words, it's not a perfect square. The square root of 16 is rational, because the square root of 16 is 4. But the square root of 5 is irrational. I can't find the exact value of the square root of 5. Negative 4.5 can be written as a fraction. This would have been a negative 4 and a half, or a negative 5 over 2. And the definition of rational just means that it can be written as a fraction, which is why A is the correct answer for number 8. Questions on the front side of the review?
They haven't done the Pledge of Allegiance.
Nope, probably aren't going to do it today. Number 9, it says complete the table with the coordinates of the 3 points shown by the black dots on the graph. So the first coordinate is 10, 100. So the time in weeks is 10. The savings is 100. The second coordinate is 20, 200. And the third coordinate is 25 and 250. When they ask me to write an equation in the form y equals kx, remember, in order to do that, I have to find k. K is y over x, which would be 100 over 10, or 10. And all I have to do then is replace k with that value. Y equals 10x. And it's important that you include this x there. I see people that are dropping it off. Y doesn't just equal 10. Y equals 10 times whatever x is. Because that way when I put in x, 10 times 10 would give me 100. 10 times 20 would give me 200. And I can replace x and find out what the y value is at that point. Questions on 9 or 10? Number 11. Carla is renting a canoe. It costs $80 for 2 hours. It costs $160 for 4 hours. What is the rate per hour? Well, it is $40 then per hour. Number 12 asked me to do 2 things. It asked me to plot the points, to draw the line, and then it says find the what? Slope. So I'm going to plot 0, 0. I'm going to plot 3, 4, which means I'm going 3 units to the right and 4 units up. When it tells me to plot a line, it is important that my line has arrows on it, showing that it continues. I saw some people that actually put a segment just between the 2 points. If it's a line, it's got to continue on through those points. It goes on and on forever. Because this goes through the origin, I can do y over x again, and the slope of this line would be 4 over 3. Are there questions on 11 or 12? David, yes? No? What don't you know? Where did you get lost? How? Can you tell me how you got it? Okay, but they gave me this coordinate, right? Even if I use this formula, right? Even if I use this formula, this would be x1, y1, x2, y2. So I would have done 4 minus 0 over 3 minus 0. What is 4 minus 0?
4.
What is 3 minus 0?
3.
Which is, in fact, why, in this case, we could use just y over x. Okay? Number 13. The graph shows two objects moving at a constant speed. Find the speed of the object, A, in meters per second. Well, they gave me this point, which is the ordered pair 210. What other point does it go through? It goes through the 0, 0. So again, I can use k equals y over x, which would be 10 over 2. How many times does 2 go into 10? 5. So this would be 5 meters per second. It says which moving object has a greater unit rate. Well, to figure out B, I would take this point, which has the ordered pair 3 and 4. So when I'm figuring K out here, it'd be 4 over 3. A is greater because 5 is greater than 4 over 3. Questions on 13 or 14? "15. Hike it at a constant rate. Fred covers 5 miles in 1 hour. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I do. Because you didn't look at the units here. These go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. These are going by 2s. And when you did this, you went 3 units over, but you went 2 units up. So you put 3, 2, but these units are going by what? They're going by 2s, and that's where you made your mistake. By the way, there's a lot of people that I've seen that are trying to count rise and run, and you can only count rise and run if the units are, in fact, the same. I can't do it on a graph where the units are different because it's going to change my slope. We okay? Understand where the mistake was? Since Fred is hiking at 5 miles per hour, I can use this equation no matter how many hours they're talking about. Because k is 5, I can use y equals 5x. And I can replace x with 10. And 5 times 10 is 50. So in 10 hours, Fred will have hiked 50 miles. For the standard notation, it tells me which way I'm going to move the decimal. I'm going to move it to the left because it's negative. If I've moved it one place, how many zeros do I have to put in front of it? So you should have 0.000017. Are there questions from the printed review sheet? Okay, then on the ready to go on sheet. Number 1, the constant of proportionality is K. In other words, they're asking me to find the value of K. How do we find K? K we know is equal to Y over X. So I'm going to say K is equal to 3 over 2. That's number 1. And you put 1.5?
Yeah, where do you put Y? Is that okay? That's what I did.
If you put what? Y equals 1.5x? It did not ask me to write an equation. It only said find what? The constant. I would not have, I'd have taken something off for it.
For 1.5?
No, for y equals 1.5x. Number 2, it says Phil is riding his bike. He rides 25 miles in 2 hours. 25 divided by 2 is 12.5 miles per hour. When I do 37.5 divided by 3, it also comes up to 12.5. When I do 50 divided by 4, it also comes up to 12.5. So, with that being said, I know K is equal to 12.5. And here they asked me to write a equation. This would be Y equals 12.5x. Questions on 1 or 2? Number 3, they asked me to find the slope. Also on number 4, they asked me to find the slope. And you'll notice both of them went through the origin. So I can simply do y over x for both of them. And all I had to do was identify a point that I could clearly see. This one had the ordered pair 1, 3 on the graph. So I did 3 over 1, which is 3. I had to pick a point here that I could see on the graph. This had the ordered pair -1 and 5. I saw a lot of people with the wrong slope here because they dropped the sign. But this slope should definitely be what? Negative. And if I do 5 over a -1, that is a -5. In number 5, they gave me the equation for train A. A is going 70 kilometers per hour. And in train B, I'd have to do 150 divided by 2, which is 75 miles or kilometers per hour. So which one is faster? Train B is faster, and it's because 75 is greater than 70. Questions on 3 through 5? Okay. Number 6, what's the relationship among proportional relationships, lines, rates of change, and slope? Rates of change and slope are what? They're the same. rates and slope are the same. Rates of change and slope mean the exact same thing. When they talk about proportional relationship in lines, they're both what? They're both what? They're not the same, but they are both what? However, proportional relationships have to go through what? Have to go through the origin. So the only difference between any line and a proportional relationship line is any line can be anywhere, but a proportional relationship has to go through the origin. Mm-hmm. Good? Number 1, which of the following is equivalent to 5 to a negative 1 power? Remember, if something's to a negative exponent, to make it positive, we move it to the denominator. So it should be B, 1/5. Number 2, $9 an hour. Which table represents that? Well, the only one that shows $9 per hour is A. 9 times 4 is 36. 9 times 6 is 54. 9 times 8 is 72. Number 3, if they made 3,120 widgets in 4 hours, then they are going to have made 708 widgets per hour. Oh, did it? Did I divide it wrong? It's very well 780, and I looked at it wrong.
What's a widget?
It's a name that you use for something when you don't want to call it by a specific name. I could say that this is a what? Widget. You pretty much can call it anything a what? Widget. If you really don't know what it is, you could use the word widget. Okay. A full lake begins dropping at a constant rate. After 4 weeks, it has dropped 3 feet. So it is dropping at a rate of 3/4 of a feet per week. By the way, if it's dropping, which two should I have eliminated? A and B. And 3/4 is the same as 0.75. Number 5. First off, the first thing I'd look at is this slope is negative. I would have eliminated the 2 positive answers. This has the ordered pair of 3, 0. This one has the ordered pair of -3 and 3. And I would have done y2 minus y1, 3 minus 0, over a -3 minus 3, which is going to be 3 over a -6, which is a -1/2. Jim earns $41.25 in 5 hours. Susan earns $30 in 4 hours. And it says, what is the, let's see, is less than Jim's, but more than Susan's. What is the rate? So if it's less than Jim's, more than Susan's, it's got to be between 750 and 825. Well, can't be equal. Can't be less than 750. So the answer was B. Number 7, when you're completing the table, they gave you the data to complete it with. They said 3 pages, 4 minutes. They said 4.5 pages, 6 minutes. They said 6 pages, 8 minutes. The unit rate would be 3/4 y over x pages per minute. Not 1.5, but what? 0.75 pages per minute. And when I went to graph this, I would graph the ordered pair 4, 3. And I would draw the line from 0, 0. And the reason that I wouldn't plot these other 2 points is it only takes 2 points to make a line, and I have to kind of guess at where 4.5 is. And 8 is off the end of my chart. So the only point that I would have plotted was this 4, 3 when I went to graph it. Are there questions? Does anybody have a question from a mastery test that they'd like to ask?
Ooh, I have a question.
Pull one of your mastery tests out. Ask specifically the numbers that are on it. I'll gladly go over it because on Friday, that's the last chance you have of getting that elusive 100 for some of you. It does not matter. They're really all the same. So specific. Ask. Tell me what number it is, by the way. Number 4. And it's got a bracket.
Yeah, it's 6, -3 in parentheses.
Like that? Bring it up here. Let me look at it. I'll copy it since you can't read it off there.
I'm bad at reading.
Mr. Huntley.
6, parenthesis, -3, -2, plus bracket, 4 plus 6, parenthesis, -2, bracket. Here you go, David. You can have it back. Okay. What are you going to do first?
First, you're just going to bring down the -3 and then do -3 times 6, which is -18.
Okay. First thing I'm going to do is the multiplication that's inside of this bracket. I'm going to tell you, most people that are still making mistakes are not showing every step. And if you're making mistakes, I encourage you, show every step. You're less likely to make a mistake. So, in the next bracket, what am I going to do?
You're going to do 6 times -2, which is -12.
There are some people that are making some small mistakes here.
Yeah, plus and
It doesn't matter whether I put -12 or I put what? Plus and negative. Minus and negative and subtract all mean what? The same thing. Likewise, I could do it here. plus a negative. Negative 18 plus a negative 2. This is like borrowing $18 and borrowing $2 more. How much do I owe? 20. These have different signs. I keep the sign of the larger number and I subtract. 12 minus 4 is 8, but it would be negative. And then the last thing I would do is put these two together. They have the same sign, so I add and I keep the sign, negative 28. Okay? Other questions? Reardon? Give me one of them. Tell me which number it is. Whoa, whoa, negative 8 divided by 2 times 4. There are a couple people that are making mistakes here in the aspect that some people are trying to multiply before they divide. Please understand that multiplication and division are on the same level. I have to work those from left to right. Addition and subtraction are also on the same level, and I have to work those from left to right. So the first thing I'm going to do is a negative 8 divided by 2, which is a negative 4. The next thing I'm going to do is this multiplication. Negative 4 times 4 is a negative 16. This minus a negative becomes plus a positive. These two have different signs. I keep the sign of the larger one and I subtract. Negative 10. I think these were actually brackets, weren't they?
That's also what I was going to ask.
Okay.
Oh, really, never mind.
I can do this exponent. What is 6 squared? 36. Inside of the bracket, 2 cubed is 8. Okay. Now, I've seen a handful of people at this point, they've dropped these brackets off. Don't make that mistake. Leave the brackets there or parentheses there till you're completely finished with what's on the inside. A negative 1 times a negative 3 is the next thing that I have to do, because this is implied that it's multiplication. A negative times a negative makes a positive. So inside of the brackets now I have 11. And 36 take away 11 is 25.
Before you said like the two negatives and then they
A negative times a negative makes a positive. A negative times a negative made a positive. Okay? Anybody else? Once, twice. So